Hey there, and welcome. A lot of people think of a second marriage as starting over. But what if it isn't a do-over at all? What if it's really a chance to start wiser? So today, we're going to dive into how your past experiences can actually pave the way for a much stronger, more intentional future.
I love this quote because it really captures such a powerful shift in perspective. A second marriage isn't about trying to erase the past. It's about using it. Think of it this way. You're not just hitting a reset button. You're upgrading your whole approach to partnership, and you're already equipped with all the lessons you've learned along the way.
All right, let's get into it. Our first section is all about this idea, starting wiser, not over. This is where we'll look at how all your life experiences, the good, the bad, all of it, can become your biggest assets in building a new partnership. And this really speaks to a huge cultural shift, right? Maybe back in the day, the story was all about just making compromises or settling down again quickly. But now, the approach is totally different. It's about using what you know about yourself to find real, genuine compatibility, because you have such a clear understanding of what you truly need.
Okay, so you can't build something strong on a shaky foundation, right? And that's what this next part is all about, laying the right foundation. We're talking about the crucial internal work that you have to do before you even think about bringing someone new into your life.
So how do you do that? Well, it really breaks down into two key steps. First up, you have to, and I mean really have to, take the time to heal, to process what happened and absorb the lessons. And only after that can you confidently start to move forward. And you just can't rush this. One has to come before the other.
And this really gets to the absolute heart of the matter. See, if you're jumping into a new relationship just to escape being lonely or to run away from past pain, it's just not going to last. A truly strong second marriage has to be a confident choice you make from a place of strength, not just a reaction to what came before. Okay, so once you've done that work and that foundation is solid, then you get to be the architect of what comes next. Which brings us right to our third section, designing your new partnership. Think of this as the blueprint for building a bond that is truly built to last. This time around, there is absolutely no room for ambiguity. Clarity is everything. This means you've got to have those radically honest conversations, first with yourself and then with the partner, about the whole shebang. We're talking lifestyle, core values, what you expect from family, your deepest fears, even your past. And this isn't just small talk. It's about making sure you don't fall back into old, unhelpful patterns. And here's the real game changer. Look, in a first marriage, you're often just figuring out how to communicate. But the second time around, you know the communication isn't just some nice skill to have. It's the absolute foundation. It's not a nice to have, it's a must have. So what we're looking at here is a classic conflict. On one side, you've got all these outside pressures screaming at you. What society expects, the fear of being alone, that feeling of a ticking clock. But on the other side, you've got your internal compass, which your experience has fine-tuned. It's pointing you toward what really matters, compatibility, understanding, a real connection. The real challenge is to tune out all that noise and just listen to that compass.
But let's be real. A second marriage often involves a lot more than just two people, doesn't it? Which brings us to a really big piece of this puzzle, blending families. This is where integrating two different worlds requires a ton of patience and care. So when you're trying to create a blended future, there are two things that are just non-negotiable. First off, the emotional comfort and safety of any kids involved has to be priority number one, period. Their world is changing in a big way. And second, you've got to be proactive about building those bridges with extended families on both sides. It's so much more than just the two of you. It's about carefully weaving together a whole new, bigger family. So with all this in mind, how do you actually find someone who's right for this new, wiser chapter? Well, that brings us to our next section, which is all about a more modern approach to matching. And when you think about it, this makes total sense, right? The whole endless swiping thing on some dating apps, it might not be the right fit for someone who has more life experience and knows exactly what they're looking for. I mean, when you've got kids and careers to think about, the search just naturally becomes way more specific and intentional. So, the source material actually points out a few unique needs that often come up here. People aren't just looking at profiles anymore. They want a process that feels more private, more personalized. The whole focus shifts. It becomes about building trust and finding a real, genuine connection right from the get-go. All right, so that brings us to our final takeaway. After all that soul-searching and all that hard work, it's time to actually embrace what's next. This is all about you claiming your second chance and doing it your way. And really, this says it all.
It's such a powerful message of hope. Because all of that healing, that clarity you fought for, and that intentional approach, it's all for one reason: to make sure your second chance gets the smart, happy, and right beginning that it absolutely deserves.
So I want to leave you with a question to think about. What if that thing from your past you see as a failure wasn't a failure at all? What if it was just a really tough lesson? What is that one lesson, that hard-won piece of wisdom, that's now become your greatest strength moving forward? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.